The alien princess believed that she could make him her slave with her gaze. The human knight conquered her heart with a passionate move. The air aboard the Star Sovereign shimmered with an unnatural hum, like the ship itself was purring in anticipation. Polished obsidian walls reflected the pale blue glow of gravity stabilizers, and above, a vaulted ceiling of dark crystal rippled like a living sky. At the very center of the throne chamber, Princess Valira of House Elareth reclined on a levitating dais, draped in silk that shifted color with her pulse, long legs crossed, chin tilted with the elegance of someone who had never once lost an argument or a war. Across the chamber, the human delegation filed in. 3 diplomats, 2 security drones, and 1 man who clearly hadn't read the dress code. Darius Thorne wore a flight jacket patched with burns, a lopsided smile, and what looked like steel-toed boots from a mining rig. His hair was a mess, his swagger irritating, and worst of all, he didn't flinch when Valira's gaze touched his. She narrowed her eyes, flexing the focus of her will like a blade. His name echoed through her mind as she dissected him. Darius Thorne, Earthborn, Knight designation, legacy title only, no psychic defense implants, no visible weaponry beyond that ridiculous hilt at his side. Clearly overconfident, clearly doomed. "Welcome," she said, voice laced with suggestion, "to the sovereign halls of the Alarian Dominion. I trust your journey from your Earth wasn't too traumatizing?" Darius tilted his head. "Honestly, the ship's food gave me existential dread. Something screamed when I bit it." The court didn't laugh. 1 aide choked on air. Valira arched a brow. "Humor is a peculiar shield for a man standing before a weaponized monarchy." "I find sarcasm works better than armor these days," Darius said, less squeaky. She stood slowly, letting her presence fill the room like cold fire. Her gaze pulsed brighter. The room dimmed as her psychic aura unfurled in fractal spirals. She felt his heartbeat, steady, felt his surface thoughts, something about her ears. "Are your ears always like that?" Darius asked casually. "Or is it some kind of battle mode?" She blinked. The focus slipped. For the first time in a decade, her mind failed to dominate a target. "What? Look, they're amazing," he said. "I'm not judging. I'm just wondering if they twitch when you're angry, like a cat." A snort escaped one of the guards. Valira's glare silenced him. Darius didn't seem to notice, or didn't care. "I was told," she said, taking a single step closer, "that you came to negotiate terms of ceasefire." "I did, and yet," she said, voice low and dangerous, "you insult the princess of the Alarian Dominion under her own star crest." "I'm just trying to break the ice," he said. "Technically, this is a date. Intergalactic diplomacy is just awkward flirting with paperwork." Her fingers twitched. The dice dipped closer. She hovered mere inches from him now, the violet glow of her eyes burning straight into his. "Look into my eyes?" She whispered. He did. Time hung. Space bent. Her gaze, honed over 20 years of symbiotic mastery, dug into his mind and hit something it had never encountered before. Laughter. Not fear, not awe, not even resistance. Just a flicker of joy and a memory of warmth, something human, something stupidly, stubbornly grounded. He wasn't fighting her. He was there, letting her see, letting her feel like he had nothing to hide. Her pulse skipped. Then, before she could react, his hand shot up, not to strike, not to run, but to pull. He grabbed her wrist with shocking gentleness and tugged her forward. The kiss wasn't planned, not by either of them. It was electric, not in the dramatic lightning bolt sense, but in the way it disrupted everything her senses believed true. He tasted like earth, wind, and old secrets. Her mental grip shattered. Power dissolved into confusion. Her knees didn't buckle. She refused to allow that, but her aura flickered like a dying star. The chamber exploded into chaos. Guards raised rifles. One fired a warning blast into the ceiling. Drones activated combat protocols, but Valira raised a single hand. "Stand down." The words echoed with raw authority. Silence returned. Darius was still holding her wrist. "Permission to speak freely?" he said. She stared at him. "You're already doing so." "Cool, just wanted to say, that was probably the most terrifying makeout session of my life. You kissed me. You pulled me in with your deadly psychic aura. I was trying not to die dramatically." "You kissed me?" He smiled. "You didn't seem to hate it." The court held its breath. Several nobles were silently preparing assassins. A translator droid began emitting panicked binary prayers. Valira let her wrist slide free. "Put him in holding," she said. "He's clearly insane." 2 guards moved toward him. Darius raised his hands in mock surrender, winking at her as he backed away. Tell me this isn't the best first date you've had all solar cycle. She turned her back to him and floated back to her throne. Her heartbeat thundered. Her mind was spinning. Her power had failed. Her heart had. No, that wasn't possible. It was a fluke, a chemical imbalance, a minor psychic rebound. Yet her fingers still tingled where he'd touched her. As the doors sealed behind him and the chamber finally exhaled, Valera pressed her palm to her lips, slowly, quietly. She smiled, just a little. The walls of holding cell 7A weren't made of steel or plasma glass or anything satisfying to punch. They were woven light, held in place by gravity threads and some kind of smug alien engineering that pulsed every time Darius sighed. He had counted exactly 47 pulses, then lost count. Then started again because there wasn't much else to do besides poke the wall and see if it still zapped him. It did. I'm just saying, he said aloud, pacing now, if you're going to imprison someone for kissing royalty, the least you can do is offer snack. I didn't even get a thank you, Mint. No one answered. The security drone in the corner blinked red, which Darius had come to interpret as either boredom or low-key existential dread, possibly both. He leaned against the shimmering field, not enough to get shocked, just enough to show defiance in the laziest way possible. She pulled me in, technically, he muttered, staring at the ceiling, which had decided to cycle through constellations as if trying to impress him with astronomy. I mean, yes, okay, I did the kissing part, but it was a strategic maneuver, distraction, completely tactical, the whole lips thing. The drone made a beep that sounded suspiciously like a snort. Don't judge me. You weren't there. You don't know what it's like to lock eyes with a space monarch who could liquefy your neurons and have it not happen. A hiss interrupted his monologue. The wall of light unraveled with a sound like melting ice, and in its place stood Princess Valera, flanked by two guards who looked like they'd swallowed vibroblades for breakfast. You're talking to yourself, she said. I was talking to him. Darius pointed at the drone. We're bonding. The drone beeped in protest. Valera stepped forward, long ears twitching with a subtle irritation that somehow made her more intimidating, or adorable, possibly both. You disrespected the crown. And also saved your life, he added, casually scratching behind his neck. Those court politics were getting real sharp. You were seconds away from having your power questioned, and nothing rallies a court like scandal. You're welcome. One more word and I'll have you recycled into uniform buttons. Stylish buttons, I hope. Not those flat ones either. Something with character. Valera turned to the guards. Leave us. They hesitated. She narrowed her eyes. They vanished. Darius straightened, all trace of humor gone in a breath. So, what now? You probe my brain for secrets, or are we doing the awkward tea ceremony first? Valera paced the small cell, her fingers steepled beneath her chin. The silence stretched. Then, your mind resisted me. I get that a lot. Don't flatter yourself. I'm not. My grandmother tried to make me eat her beet soup once. That woman had a stare that could fracture titanium. She stopped. You have no psionic shielding, no cybernetics, no implants, no genetic enhancements. I did have a dental implant once, but it fell out during a shuttle crash. Valera didn't laugh, but her lips twitched, slightly. Then how? She asked. I think you're asking the wrong question, Darius said. It's not how did I resist, it's why did I care enough to bother. That caught her. She looked at him sharply, but there was no mockery in his tone, just quiet defiance and curiosity. The human kind, the dangerous kind. You were supposed to kneel, she said. Everyone kneels. Maybe I've got bad knees. She moved closer. You kissed me, in front of my entire court. You humiliated me. Darius met her eye. Wanted to know what it felt like not to be obeyed. Admit it. She raised her hand, and for a moment her eyes sparked violet again. The parasite within her stirred, rising from its passive state like a serpent tasting the air. Her will pressed outward, testing. Darius flinched but didn't retreat. Then something strange happened. The psychic tether met not resistance, but laughter again, a memory. This time it was him, 9 years old, barefoot on earth soil, holding a piece of string in a balloon shaped like a giraffe. The memory was pointless, beautiful, entirely unguarded. Valera recoiled as if slapped. You show me. That? It's a classic, he said. Really got me through the Space Academy. You are impossible. And yet you're still here. I could destroy you. Do it. Silence fell again, but this time it was thick with something unspoken. Valera stepped back. "You'll be transferred to the guest quarters." "Is that what we're calling prison now?" "Don't get used to the velvet pillows. They have knives in them." He grinned. "You're really bad at threats. That's almost romantic." She turned to leave. "Oh, and Princess?" he called. She paused without turning. "Your ears do twitch when you're angry. It's adorable." The door hissed shut behind her. She didn't smile, not really. But somewhere in the core of her, the parasite twisted, confused, agitated. No one had ever resisted. No one had ever made her laugh. And that terrified her more than any war. The guest quarters of the Star Sovereign were as luxurious as a floating alien palace could manage without descending into parody. The bed levitated slightly off the ground, supported by anti-fatigue pulses calibrated to spinal alignment. The food dispenser offered 47 varieties of broth, 30 of which tried to negotiate before being consumed. Darius had made friends with 3 of them, and accidentally declared war on a 4th. He sat on the edge of the bed now, holding a translucent cube that claimed to be bread. It smelled like glue and ambition. "This tastes like someone asked a computer what toast feels like," he muttered. A voice from the corner replied, "Your nutritional satisfaction is non-essential." Darius looked up at the floating orb now shadowing him like a disappointed babysitter. "Do all Ilarian AI units have your charming bedside manner, or am I just lucky?" "I am Diplomacy Sub-Protocol Assistant number 49. Can I call you Dipsy?" "No, I'm going to call you Dipsy." The orb hummed ominously. Footsteps interrupted the moment. The door spiraled open. Not slid, not hissed, but spiraled, because alien architecture couldn't resist drama. Valera entered without ceremony, dressed in a garment that shimmered like it couldn't decide if it was fabric or programmable mist. Her ears were still twitching slightly. Darius noted it without smiling this time. "You're late," he said. "Dipsy and I were about to start couples counseling." Valera crossed the room with a glance that could strip paint from metal. "There's been an incident." "I didn't touch anything." "You weren't supposed to," she said, tossing a data wafer onto the bed. It projected an image, a surveillance feed of the command deck, sparks flying, crew panicking. A shadow moved through the chaos, humanoid but distorted, its shape flickering, as if light itself rejected it. "Is that a glitch?" Darius asked. "No, it's Commander Jex, the one with the voice like a broken blender." "He staged a micro-revolt," she said, fingers tightening behind her back. "Tried to reroute ship authority to the High Council, claimed I'd been compromised." "Because of me?" Valera didn't answer. "Well," Darius said, rising, "I'm flattered. Usually it takes longer before I ruin someone's political career. He's gone rogue, took a small cruiser and jumped into dark space. Is that bad?" "That's catastrophic." She handed him another wafer. This one showed patterns, energy readings, signals warped beyond conventional translation. Darius squinted. "This looks like a star chart 8 a migraine." "It's a call. Ancient, embedded in our neural systems. Only the parasite bloodlines can receive it. Jex's strain is different, aggressive. He's following the signal." "And what happens if he finds whatever's sending it?" Valera hesitated. "The last time this signal was active, it burned 6 systems into silence. The record ends there." Darius tapped the projection. "So we follow him? My ship is still under martial audit. I'm not allowed to pursue. Not openly." "Then we go rogue too," he said. Valera frowned. "You're suggesting treason." "I'm suggesting a romantic getaway with plausible deniability." Her eyes narrowed. "You're enjoying this far too much. You're finally letting me be useful." "Of course I'm enjoying it." A beat passed. Then she tapped her wristband. A small, oblong shuttle appeared on the outer deck through the viewport, sleek, fast, and humming with illegal upgrades. "Come," she said. "If we do this, we'll be hunted." "Wouldn't be the first time. My last ex tried to vaporize me with a moon laser." "Charming. She missed, twice." They boarded the shuttle in silence, though Dipsy attempted to file a formal complaint on the way out. Valera disabled the AI with a flick of her wrist. Once inside, the cockpit lit up around them like a dream wired to a nuclear reactor. The console pulsed under her hands. "Coordinates locked," she said. "We'll have to skim the edge of the black field. It'll feel strange. Define strange. Like falling into a memory that isn't yours." Darius leaned back in the co-pilot seat. "So basically dating you." Her elbow accidentally hit a control node. His seat jolted. "I felt that," he said. I'm sure you did. They jumped. The world outside fractured into amber shards, then into shadow, then into colorless mist. The ship groaned the wrong choice it ever made. Darius tasted a lemon that wasn't real. Somewhere, a child laughed in reverse. You weren't kidding, he muttered. This is like being drunk on nostalgia and regret. We're almost through. Outside, the stars rearranged. Ahead, a shattered planetoid orbiting a black nova, glowing faintly with unnatural light. Valera's parasite pulse stirred, awake, alert. Jex's cruiser was already there, docked. Valera stared. He's inside. And we're following, Darius said. Obviously. Don't get cocky. I'm not cocky, I'm recklessly optimistic. They stepped out onto the broken world, boots crunching on crystallized ground that whispered in forgotten tongues. Something moved in the shadows. Darius reached for his sword. Valera's eyes glowed. The chase had begun. The fractured planetoid wasn't dead, exactly. It just had the personality of someone who had been asleep for 1 billion years and was now extremely annoyed about being woken up. Every step Darius and Valera took triggered strange pulses beneath the surface, flashes of ancient circuitry embedded in obsidian rock. Symbols lit up underfoot, some shifting to avoid them like embarrassed floor tiles. Darius glanced down. I think the ground is flirting with me. Valera didn't look up. It's scanning your DNA. Is that what they're calling it now? She raised a hand. The symbols flickered, then stilled. The air pressed down as though the atmosphere had suddenly remembered gravity existed. He's close, she said. I assume you don't mean romantically. I mean the rogue parasite host who could trigger galactic extinction is less than 300 meters away and possibly listening to every word we say. Right, less romantic. They reached what could generously be called a structure, more like the skeletal remains of an idea someone once had for a building. Columns hung suspended in midair, untethered from physics. A door waited without walls. Valera walked through it. Darius followed and immediately regretted all his life choices. Inside, space looped. One corridor bent back on itself until it became a staircase. Another formed a Mobius strip of hallway, where he saw his own back walking ahead of him 5 seconds in the future. He waved. Future him flipped him off. Valera held a glowing sphere in her palm. The light stabilized the environment, collapsing some of the chaotic architecture into a more digestible reality. Is this place built to confuse intruders or just itself? It's a relic, she said. A memory palace. The technology predates modern cognition. It's reactive. So it's an ancient alien mood ring. Essentially, something shrieked in the walls. Not like a creature, more like the sound a thought makes when it remembers it used to be a scream. They reached the inner chamber. Jex stood in the center, arms spread, eyes ablaze with parasite. Around him, fragments of an enormous machine hovered, half-formed, whispering. The pieces shifted in and out of visibility, as if reality wasn't quite sure if they were allowed to be there. You shouldn't have come, Jex said, his voice layered with echoes. This place, it speaks only to the worthy. Let me guess, Darius said. You read that on a cereal box? Jex ignored him. His gaze locked on Valera. Sister, he said, though they were not siblings. You could feel it, couldn't you? The call, it's waking, the source. You don't know what it is, she said. You're chasing a voice from the deep dark. There's no promise in that. There's power. There's madness. Darius stepped forward. Okay, hold up. I've heard enough supervillain monologuing to know where this is going. Can we skip the part where you claim destiny and just fight already? Jex laughed. You brought a human? This is your anchor now? He resists me, she said. Even you never managed that. Jex tilted his head. Interesting. Let's see what breaks first. The fragments snapped together. The machine pulsed once. Then the air shattered. The fight didn't begin so much as happen. One moment, Darius was standing behind Valera. The next, he was rolling across a floor that hadn't existed a second ago, dodging a plasma arc that smelled faintly of cinnamon and ozone. His sword hissed as it connected with a tendril of blacklight extending from Jex's palm. Valera vanished, reappeared midair, and launched a psychic strike that rippled through space like a cracked mirror. Jex absorbed it, laughed, and countered with a pulse that collapsed gravity in a 3-meter radius. Darius floated for half a second. Okay, this is not romantic anymore. Focus, Valera shouted. He spun, kicked off a hovering slab of alien tech and landed hard. His knees hated him. His brain hated him more. He swung his sword again, aiming for the machine instead of Jex. Sparks flew. The structure screamed. "Stop him!" Jex roared. "He kissed me first!" Valera snapped. "That's not relevant," Jex yelled. "It was a strategic maneuver," Darius added. "You're both insufferable." Jex fired again, but this time Valera caught the energy and folded it inward. The blast twisted, inverted, and slammed back into Jex's chest. He staggered. Darius lunged. The blade didn't pierce Jex. It cut through the link between him and the machine. The parasite energy flared, then recoiled like a severed limb. Jex screamed, not in pain, but in loss. The machine imploded. The walls folded. Everything collapsed into a single moment of silence so pure it rang. Then they were standing outside on the broken planetoid's surface again. The stars returned. The mist faded. Jex lay unconscious, bound in a coil of his own parasite energy, which seemed confused about its current employment status. Valera stared down at him. Her breathing slowed. She didn't speak. Darius sat down on a chunk of half-sentient rubble. "Well," he said, "that was traumatic. On the plus side, I think my hair's fuller now." She looked at him. "You cut his tether," she said. "You disrupted a parasite link without a neural weapon. More like an educated guess and a lot of luck. You could have died. I've had worse dates." She walked toward him. "You still think this is a game?" "No," he said, quietly now. "I just like pretending I'm not scared out of my mind." She nodded. "That I understand." They stood together as the sky reassembled. The threat was over, for now. The deeper questions remained. But for a moment, neither of them had to answer them. For a moment, they just stood. Together. 3 weeks later, Darius was officially classified as a strategic diplomatic anomaly by the Ilarian High Council, which, as far as he could tell, was just a polite way of saying we have no idea what to do with this guy, so let's pretend he's important and hope he doesn't break anything. He had a badge. It glowed. Sometimes it dispensed mild electric shocks when he said things like, "I think politics should involve more snacks." He wore it anyway. Valera stood beside him in the council chamber, her posture straight, her long ears twitching faintly with every passive-aggressive statement hurled her way by half a dozen shimmering nobles. They didn't quite trust her anymore. She didn't seem to mind. "I told you," she said, voice cool enough to frost titanium. "I went after Jex because he violated containment protocols and posed an existential threat to parasite bloodline harmony. If you're angry that I brought a human, perhaps consider that he's the reason your atoms aren't currently distributed across 3 dimensions." Darius coughed. "Also, I'm very charming." A holographic counselor turned to him. "You disarmed an ancient machine with no training. I've disarmed vending machines with more attitude. You're not helpful." Frequently, the room buzzed with uncertainty. Darius wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't enhanced, wasn't psionically linked, wasn't bred for nobility. He was just Darius. A human with a sword, a deflective sense of humor, and the extremely dubious distinction of kissing an alien princess mid-coup. They dismissed the council with formal nods and various haughty particle effects. Valera and Darius remained in the empty chamber as the lights dimmed to low diplomatic ambience. "You could leave," she said. "Earth's closed now. We've realigned your jump window. One good push and you'll be home by dinner." He sat on the edge of the ceremonial fountain, which burbled solemnly as if mourning its career choices. "And do what? Go back to being a half-rate merc with a high snack bill and unresolved childhood trauma? You'd be safe. I kissed an alien princess in front of 40 ambassadors and punched a mind-controlled rebel in the middle of an ancient AI tomb. I don't think I've ever been safe." She crossed her arms. "You don't belong here. I didn't belong on Earth either. Too much fire in the... Not enough patience. Not enough gravity. I've seen the edge now, Valera. I've walked through places where time forgets how to breathe. I can't unsee that, and I can't go back to pretending I'm small." She stared at him, then walked closer. "The parasite inside me," she said slowly, "it stopped speaking when I kissed you. Not just quiet, gone. I was alone, entirely, for the first time in my life. Good alone? I didn't know how quiet my own mind could be." He nodded. "I can be loud again if you miss the noise." She smirked. "You never stop being loud." They stood there, 2 figures who shouldn't have existed in the same room, let alone on the same side of history. Darius had fought wars without reason. Valera had ruled without question. They'd both been changed by something older than power, choice. Later, aboard a new vessel, sleeker, smaller, technically illegal, they prepared to leave for the outskirts of known space. A new assignment: quiet diplomacy. Less punching, more blinking at weird lights until someone screams. Darius adjusted the navigation array, which refused to acknowledge him unless he called it Captain Toast. He still had no idea why. Valera slid into the pilot's chair. "Ready?" "Always," he said. "You have no idea where we're going." "I know exactly where we're going. Somewhere weird, probably dangerous, and very, very far away from anyone who would disapprove of us sharing a bunk." She shook her head, smiling. "You're impossible. I've been called worse, frequently by you." They launched into slipstream. The stars bent. The ship howled like a happy dog chasing light. Darius leaned back, watching space unfold in impossible geometries outside the viewport. "You ever think," he said, "that maybe we were never supposed to find each other and the universe just kind of glitched?" Valera turned toward him, her eyes softer than he'd ever seen. "No," she said. "I think the universe was just waiting for someone to kiss the wrong princess." He grinned. "Well, I've always been excellent at poor timing." They laughed. The ship soared. Behind them, the council reorganized its power structures. The parasite signals quieted. Somewhere deep in the void, forgotten machines dreamed again, but slower this time, less hungry. And ahead of them, new systems, new stars, new moments waiting to be made. One human, one alien, one kiss that rewrote everything. And all the time in the universe to figure out what came next.